So first of all, my name is Tim Ingledew. I am a dev lead here at Orion, the Enterprise Infrastructure team. I've been here almost 3 years. It's been a really fun, exciting ride. Tonight is going to be a little bit, it may seem disconjointed at times throughout the presentation. I'm being thoughtful of long potential build times. My machine's a little old, so if you see me jumping around saying here's the code, I'm going to do a build and suddenly we're going to jump into documentation, that's why I'm doing that, because I'd rather do that than have moments of frequent awkwardness. Okay, with that said, Nebraska Code is coming up, like we talked about a little bit earlier tonight. I will be doing a full day build a Maui mobile application in 1 day. So you'll come in, you'll effectively be given some API code, some database code first approaches. You'll create an app service. You'll do a SQL Azure load to the cloud. That'll all be there. You'll check it out with Postman. The entire process should take 15-20 minutes, and after that you'll be rock and rolling with Maui development. So if you're free in July and you want to have a Maui full app that's yours, check it out. Nebraska Code coming up. With that said, let's go and start talking a little bit about the resources. We have in the Microsoft site, I'll kind of pull it up straight up. Here is the .NET MAUI platform. So if you're looking for information on .NET MAUI, you probably should go to the actual source of where it comes from. Really quick, the important things, if you go through here, there's how-to guides, there's a lot of different factors, but at the bottom here, there's a download PDF document. This PDF document will take everything you see on this page and put it into a PDF for you. It's 2,000 pages, 1,960-some pages. So it is a great download. Download it, open it up, Control F, type what you're looking for. Probably it'll be in there for you. And that does cover everything on this particular page. In case you're curious why I keep going back to this notes document, I'm actually kind of showing you the secret sauce, if you will. So I'll be going back here for reference material. So as we go through here, you also see there is a Get Started. So if you want to start going through demos, there's resources, how to build mobile apps, Maui for beginners, there's workshops, enterprise application patterns. I'm going to click on this one. If you notice at the bottom, there is another free book from Microsoft. Down here, it is an architectural book. So tonight, I'm not going to talk a lot about architecture for .NET MAUI because we only have a small amount of time. And we could do an entire presentation just talking about architecture principles or how do you work with this widget or how do you work with that control. So architecture patterns are all in this book. It's about 102 pages long. If you say, how do I build a mobile app? What's the best practice for doing that? It's a free download. Check it out. Very nice read. There's also a couple other resources for you. Over here we have a Microsoft product owner, James Montemango. He's basically does a lot of Maui presentations on YouTube. They're for free, a lot of podcasts. So if you want to find out more about .NET MAUI at a high level, what's coming down the pipe, it's a great resource. And by the way, everything that I'm talking about tonight, all the documentation, all the source code, I will be uploading that to GitHub. You will have full access to the GitHub. I will make an open shared repository. So if you want to take notes, you can. But if you just want to check out the GitHub, download it, play with it, do whatever you want with it. It's yours. There's also another YouTuber, if you will, Jared. Let me stop this. He actually goes into a lot of practical applications of various things he wants to do with Maui. So, example, you want a Maui bar scanner, barcode reader. He'll show you how to do that. You want to do some special camera control widget. He may have that in there for you. So, if you want to do practical, technical applications, how to do something, he's a great resource for that. And then, of course, there is a non-tutorial 4-hour course that's also beginning with documentation. I'm not going to pull it up. But one thing I will pull up for you is Udemy. I found going through Udemy, there are a lot of great resources. Obviously, you can use Pluralsight, Skillshare, other things as well. I just happen to have several different authors or content creators on Udemy who I think really do a great job. My recommendation, just look for anything which is 4.5 stars or better, and chances are you get some really great material. For example, Trevor is pretty good. Frank Liu, I've not done any Maui from him, but I have done a lot of Blazor, a lot of different classes. Very thorough, very great. So check these out. Asfend, he does a really great job. He's got 3 or 4 different Maui courses. If you're interested, you notice the prices. If you haven't been with Udemy before, sometimes you go there, the course is $100. You come back the next day, it's $9.99. Definitely kind of worth the time. What's great about the Maui courses in here is you can wake up on a Saturday morning at 8 a.m. You go to bed Saturday night, you have learned an entire Maui course, entire Maui application. So one of the things that always kind of sticks in my mind, for years I've heard about these special crack squads of mobile developers. You know, they're the Kotlin developers, they're the Android developers, the iOS developers. And it's always been a little bit intimidating, saying, wow, that's a whole new space I got to break into. I don't know if I'm ready for that. But with Maui, it's going to change your perceptions. So today, every single person in here who's heard of the term C#, you're going to be leaving here potentially as a Maui developer. You're going to have that much knowledge gained in this short amount of window. So 10 minutes to learn, lifetime to master, but you definitely will have some opportunities to pick that skill set up. Let's go ahead and close those down. And I'm going to go ahead. Really at a high level, what is Maui? Before this meeting, has anyone really had any exposure to Maui before? Has anyone developed any Maui apps? Maybe, a little bit? One person? Okay. So Maui stands for, not Hawaii, but stands for Multi-Platform Application UI. Really what this means is, if you develop something as a Maui app or perhaps as a Blazor app, in this day and age, you can deploy that app anywhere. So you can have one developer who knows C# who can deploy something to the Apple Store, deploy something to the Android Store, deploy the same application with the same code base to a Windows application, to a web-based application. Normally in your teams, your organizations, you have multiple teams who specialize in these technologies. Not only that, but they have to know Node.js, they have to know Kotlin, they have to know proprietary technologies to support each of these patterns or each of these technologies that they do. No more. You could literally have one developer who knows C#, could deploy to all these areas, all this technology. Sure, they can pick up a couple of skill sets to make them better, going to the Apple Store, maybe a little bit better going to the Android, maybe a little better going to Windows or what have you, but it's the same code base, the same structure, and one of the great advantages is it's all .NET. You don't have to jump outside of the .NET ecosystem. You stay in what you feel comfortable with, what you feel familiar with. You don't have to worry about one day deleting your Node.js folders, reinstalling npm, and seeing if something happens somewhere because it's all .NET. So this right here on the screen is a little bit of a pattern. It just says, hey, I have Maui, and Maui has connections to all of these various areas. If we scroll down a little bit, there's another picture. And basically what this says is, hey, I have my app code. Think of your business logic, your server code, your proprietary business logic. You have .NET MAUI, which sits on top of that. And then .NET MAUI will actually have platform-specific settings or implementation guidelines, which is kind of built into the system, which you don't have to worry about unless you're doing something very specific for a particular platform. And it will go ahead and recompile that and get that into a usable platform-specific binary, and it will do that for you as it deploys it out to those various structures, whether it's iOS, Mac, what have you. How does that sound so far? Sound pretty cool? Are you pretty excited? I'm pretty excited. Now, actually I'm really excited. Especially earlier I talked about I had this stage fright about getting into adjoint development. all that goes away. It all goes away. You don't have to know that specific knowledge anymore. It's just, hey, can I do a C# if statement? Yes. Can I do an angle bracket and throw some HTML in there? Yes. Woohoo! I'm a mobile developer. That's pretty cool. Okay, now obviously I didn't talk about Xamarin yet, which we'll talk about that, which is another stage fright that I personally had, but we'll cover that really quick. So, 2.5, sample MAUI apps. I'm going to start off that says I was not born a UX developer. I did not grow into a UX developer, and as much as I want to, I'm still not a UX developer, okay? So these here are some mobile apps straight from MAUI. So sure, they could be beautified if someone is some better UX than what I am, but these are some base information I got off some tutorials, so some of you who may have gone through it may recognize some of these. But here you have a typical application. You have a search box. You have an icon showing you, hey, it's cloudy today. It's a weather app. Over here you have, this is the humidity factor, wind, the wind chill, or how fast the wind is moving, temperature, the Fahrenheit or Celsius, and some basic projections throughout the day of where that's going to be at. And of course, this is localized to Omaha as an example. You type in Iowa City, it immediately goes to show you what the weather is in Iowa City as an example. Another sample application. This is an application I went through on Udemy. You come through here, you have token-based authentication, you register, you create your user account, you sign in your user account, it goes out to the server, the API, grabs you your token information, you use that token information to access the various API endpoints. In this scenario, we have the second screen here is just a real estate. You come into here, you have some top picks on the real estate choices, you have a search box, a couple selectors over here, you go to the search box, you type in real estate, hey, I'm looking for something in Dubai. You go through, and suddenly there's your house in Dubai. It looks real great. You have a little, I'm going to go ahead and send a text message. I'm going to send a phone call. I did not get those working because I had no one to send a message or call for my fictitious app. But you absolutely could throw that in there. Then over here you have a bookmarks page saved. And then, of course, you have settings, which you can go over here and say, hey, I'm going to log out. Maybe I'm going to put some other things in the settings. What I would have done differently in here is maybe I would have said, hey, if you actually clicked on the home page or the bookmark page, we're going to darken that icon so you can actually tell you're on it. This here is a fun site. My son's name is Sam, so created him a news aggregator service. So over here, you log into the application. You have, hey, breaking news, world, nation, and all this connected to a third-party news aggregator site. We connected to their API. We logged into their, subscribed to their service. We call them. They give us back the information, and then we basically took the initial modeling JSON and we mapped it into a modeling classes. We put it into the mobile app, and then that's how this was derived. So there you click on the heading, it takes you to an image about the news article. Over here you'll notice I have a little share icon. I have a little ellipsis, the 3 dots. This here says, hey, I just clicked on the 3 dots. Do I want to do something? No idea what I want to put there, so I just put item 1, item 2, item 3. It's a placeholder to say, hey, if I want a link to go somewhere else, this is where I would throw that link. In case you're curious, we're going through this right now just to show you some different applications of your mobile developments. All of this here, any of you could wake up, like I said, 8 in the morning on a Saturday, that night, you've got all this developed. So it's that smooth for you. The other icon, the share icon, you come through here. Now, this was really cool. So one thing about working in mobile development or native mobile controls is you get a lot with a particular control. So in web development, if I had to institute something like here, save to a G drive, save to Gmail, or send a text messaging, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I have to do all this kind of development to get that working. Well, the mobile, you get that free with the mobile package because that's what all these companies have been doing for years. So you kind of get out of the box from an implementation standpoint. You're like, this is kind of slick. But do you remember also how I said earlier how this is multi-platform? So suddenly, if you have this for mobile, that also means you have it for Windows. It means you also have it for web. That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. So over here, I'm going to go ahead and, so over here, here's what the save to your G drive looks like. Here's the account, here's my G drive naming convention. I'm going to send it to a friend from me, the 2 box, here's the subject. Then over here, because I did send it, it actually logged me into my own email. I'm like, ooh, wow, Northridge Estates, I didn't regret none. So here's my email that automatically pulled into the mobile device, just as if I was using it on my phone doing something. And by the way, through the mobile development, if you hook up your phone to your laptop, everything you develop doesn't necessarily have to be on an emulator. It can also be on your phone. And you can have your personal development on your personal phone. You can check it out, install apps directly to your phone, and avoid the store entirely if it's just for you. Obviously, if you want to deploy it to the community, then you would deploy it to the appropriate store. And the last one down here, because I think it's the last one, almost the last one, it was, hey, you want to send this as a text message? You want to send this to someone in your IM list or your direct message list? That's what this is doing. But over here, Andy Birch, I did cross off his contact info, so you won't get any calls tonight, hopefully. And then Austin with glasses. Apparently there's an Austin without glasses. But that's obviously my contact list, if you will. And it kind of shows you a little bit about what that can do. And that was, of course, all off of the share icon, all off of a mobile native control. Couple lines of code. Couple lines of code. Old school. You're like, I have a class for this, I have a class for this, I have a class for this, I have A, B, C, D, additional things I need to wire up. Go, throw in the control. Works like magic because other developers in that space have already done it for you, and they've made it part of the native Microsoft control. So very, very nice. With that said, that are some sample apps. But tonight, all this just form up what we're going to be showing for the code. And we're going to go ahead and a few helpful tools, and we're going to get to the three with this show me the code. So the tools. First is Postman. Hopefully everyone's familiar with Postman. It's a simple method. You go ahead and you put in some information, you hit a URL, goes to an endpoint somewhere on the cloud, gives you back data. That's all it is. Probably old school for a lot of people. Another tool is a JSON to C# class mapper. So if you're integrating with a lot of third-party sites and you don't have hours and hours to come up with all your data models, but you know if they're JSON pulled down from you, you can simply take that JSON, if I can copy it correctly, go to this particular website. You can punch the JSON into here. You can say, what kind of development am I doing? I want to use Pascal case. I'm actually going to be using system.text, so I'm going to go ahead and do .NET Core JSON configuration. I'm going to do convert. And then you have your C# class mapped out for you instantaneously, no work on your part, with the exception of maybe I don't want my class name groups. Maybe I want to call it real estate or property or whatever it is you want. But this takes a lot of some hard work of just manually coming up with your C# classes for you. And the concept here obviously is you change the root class to whatever class name you would prefer. You copy this, you put it into your C# models folder as a class with the appropriate name, and your work from that standpoint of doing API mapping is done. Okay. So I believe that is all the cool stuff for tools we're going to show. So let's go ahead and show me the code. All right, so that's 33 minutes into it. Hopefully everyone's still awake. Everyone good? All right, awesome. I don't want this to be a mystery for anyone. So when I upload this to GitHub, I've listed out all the code 100%, step-by-step, what you need to do in direct order. So if you do this at home, you can have this up and running in 15 minutes. If all goes well, your machine's better than mine, hopefully. So hopefully that is really great. So Katie, you're going to see me going back to this slide, and I'm going to show you how this does work with the application we're building tonight. So with that, create a GitHub project. That sounds kind of cool. It would be a terrible scenario if we say we're going to do it and we actually don't do it, right? GitHub. So come out here, repository. Hey, it's available. That's awesome. I'm going to make it public. Let's call this the .NET user group May meeting about Maui. Okay. And I'm going to make that public, so you should have access to this. I'm not going to include a README file. You know what? I won't include a README file. When we add the notes, I'll go ahead and add that up as a separate upload. Hit ignore. I always use Visual Studio here. And I'm just going to say create repository. And is everyone here familiar with GitHub? Anyone not? Okay. So we're going to go ahead and copy that repo. I don't plan on going back here again, so I'm going to go ahead and close the session. Hopefully it's still in my buffer. I know it's probably familiar with this tool, so I'm not even going to say anything about it. So this is Get extensions. People are using Get Kraken or command line Get interfacing. So over here, that looks like a good name. I'm going to go ahead and throw it to a location on my C drive. Okay, so we've created an empty repository. Right now there's nothing in it. So I'm going to go ahead, leave this tool open, but I'm going to minimize it. So the next part of what we're doing is I'm going to be explaining to create several different projects the concept of the cross-platform usage in .NET Today, .NET Core, specifically Blazor and MAUI and those technologies. So I ask you to bear with me. The steps 1 through 7, probably 1 through 13, is all going to be focused on that concept. And then once we finish those steps, and that might be kind of hard to read, let me blow this up a little bit. Can everyone kind of see this kind of okay? Blow it up more? Okay. I hate to say, no one could actually read it, so. Okay, so what we're going to be doing through here is we're going to be, I can see it a little bit. Yeah, so these steps here are really going to be creating our initial projects within our application. And all of these are just for demonstration for explaining the concept of the cross-platform, except for the MAUI project, which we'll be creating for our mobile development, which we'll be doing later on. So step 8, we're going to commit the code. Step 9 and 10, and 11 and 12, all the way to step 15 is all going to be about explaining the cross-platform concepts. Then once we hit past step 15, we're going to go ahead and start actually working on our project, which tonight, just call it Lizard. We're doing a Lizard project. Kind of crazy. Could have been coffee, could have been balloons. It's lizards. Okay, so coming into here, first thing it says we're going to do, open Visual Studio. I've already done that. So we're going to create a Blazor server project. So let me come over here. I've already got the name of my buffer. And here's our solution. There's nothing in it. And there is a slight delay between my screen and the screen up here. So if I'm going too fast, let me know. Also, Blazor server app, that's what we're creating. And we're going to call this Blazor server app, my Blazor server app. The reason why I'm putting the word my in front of the name of the project is for namespacing. If you use the exact same name as the project as your project name, it will conflict with the namespace, so try not to do that. Let me go ahead and make sure I've got the right location. So we call this May 23 right here. This is our location for our project. And for our solution name, let's see, did I actually copy the same? We're going to go ahead and use the May 23 user group MAUI as our solution name. And we're just going to accept the defaults. So, has anyone here done Blazor or WebAssembly development before? Yes? Yes? A little bit? No? Okay. So, for tonight's purposes and tonight's discussion, anytime I say the word Blazor, Blazor server, it also kind of means WebAssembly. Okay? I will occasionally intersperse words such as MAUI Blazor or just a MAUI app. So there's distinctions that we'll talk about when we actually look at the project types. But anytime you hear anyone in the world say it's a Blazor app, you should think to yourself, oh, they could be talking Blazor server or they could be talking Blazor WebAssembly. So the difference is kind of at a high level is Blazor server actually talks to server-based code, constantly back and forth, back and forth. There's a lot of good reasons why you may want to do that. Maybe because it's simple for you, who knows? Maybe you want to talk about this logic, who knows? Internal company canned app. So there's WebAssembly. WebAssembly actually lives on the client machine, and it'll communicate via APIs, if you will, to go ahead and communicate back and forth, kind of at a high level. So come through here, we're going to go ahead and look. So tonight's focus is not on Blazor, it's not on WebAssembly. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the structure of this particular project. I can go on for hours and hours though. If you really want to hear about that, that's probably not tonight. Maybe it's a separate conversation. But a couple of core things I want to point out is we simply have www, which you expect from normal web development. You simply have a pages, which is out of the box, and you have shared for shared resources. Pages is where you would think, hey, this is where all my feature-based web pages will go for my application. So let me go ahead and move this. You don't see it on your screen, but on my screen I have the Zoom bar, which is taking up space. Let me see if I can do this. One moment. Okay, it's trapped. Okay, anyway. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and switch. I could look at HTTPS or IS Express. I'm going to hit this and just run it so you can get the look and feel. Several different things I'll be doing tonight as well, because sometimes we work with a mobile application. It takes a little while to build the mobile app and then also deploy the mobile app to your emulator. So often tonight I will be actually showing a Windows deployment or a Windows version of the mobile app to save time. Otherwise, we'll have that 2 to 5 minute window of, I'll wait for that mobile app to deploy to the emulator. So anyway, this is a typical Blazor application. It's hello world, nothing too fancy. You have a counter, you have a component, you have fetch data, which is static data, which is derived from some services. You can also take this, change the sizing on it. If I can do this before we're not closing the window. Here you go. And it's fully responsive. We got your little hamburger menu, et cetera, et cetera. Nothing too crazy, but it's out of the box. So if you want to throw up, hey, I want to track, my family bingo nights, boom, you have it up and ready in minutes. So that's pretty cool. The next app I'm going to go ahead and install, going from our cheat sheet. It's going to be a Maui Blazor project. So we come over, new project. Over here we have a .NET MAUI app, we have a Maui Blazor app, and we have a Maui class library. We're going to be doing the Maui Blazor app. And Maui Blazor app. I'm sorry, did I do not the one moment? We'll unmove it. Let me go back here. Oh, sorry. It's like senior moment suddenly. Okay, here we go. We're going to do add projects. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and do the Maui Blazor app. After I did this, mindlessly click through and say, what happened? Okay, we're going to set the defaults. So, if a WebAssembly or Blazor app is a web-based application, the Maui Blazor app is made specifically for mobile devices, but it is a web-based mobile device application. So you can pull up on your phone, I'm going to go to this URL, I look at the web page, it's not really made for mobile. That's Blazor server, that's WebAssembly. This here is, hey, it's actually made for a mobile device, but it looks like a web page. It has native web page-based type of controls. That's what this is. So first thing we notice is, let me expand the Explorer out. So here are two projects. If I double click on the server app, and the project file notice is very small. All it says is, hey, I'm a .NET 7 project. Welcome, that's all I am. If you come down here to the Maui Blazor app, there's a whole bunch of more stuff. So you're like, well, what is this? Well, you look up here, it says target frameworks. We have .NET 7 Android, iOS 7, Mac Catalyst. So we're now saying, hey, you got your .NET, Microsoft stack, you have your Android stack, you have your iOS stack. If you scroll down a little bit more, it kind of goes into specifics exactly what its target frameworks or target platforms are. So really quick, iOS, Mac Catalyst, Android, Windows, and Tizen. Any Tizen developers? I've been asking this all night long. Anyone ever heard of a Tizen developer? All right, just throwing it out there. Anyway, so that's basically what this is. There's a lot more in this application. I'll allow you to just kind of explore it on your own time, just to be respectful of the time we have tonight. But a lot of this is basic stuff. But you notice there are some resource folders down here in the item groups. So we have icons, Flash, images, fonts, raw. These are resources, which I'll show you in a second, which are specific to mobile developments. So additional web page, you might have folders for your images, your CSS, etc., etc. Well, for mobile development, you do have some specific folders to house those resources. So I'm going to open this up. You'll come down here, you'll see a resource folder, and here they are. So anything inside of here is for your mobile development. You notice this also has the pages, also has the data. So this has the weather forecast, like we saw earlier, the weather forecast application. Like, oh, they got it in Blazor, they've got it in Blazor Maui. All right, it's the same thing. That's kind of cool. Pages, same stuff with the pages. Platforms, this is new, brand new. This right here, if you notice, it says Android, iOS, Mac, Tizen, Windows. If you have any particular settings or code that is specific to a specific platform that is not universal, effectively it is managed from within here. Within your code base, you can also put special operand if codes that says, hey, if Android, do this, if here, do this. But this also houses that kind of universal code sets as well for you. And the earlier pictures I showed you, it said the BCL. It said, hey, this is your app code, this is your Maui, this is the translation layer, this is the deployment steps. That's kind of how this is all managed. That's where it kind of all lives and breathes for you. And when you go to the Microsoft site, any specific controls, it'll tell you if there is a difference between Android and Mac. So you say, oh, I want to do this particular control. Well, Android does a little bit different than iOS. It's all right there for you. You can look it up and you can find out what those differences are. A couple other things just for new people to Maui or to mobile development in this platform. In a traditional project, old school, .NET Core, you had to start .cs. And then .NET Core, you just had your program .cs. Over here, a little bit kind of the same thing a little bit. If we come over here, we have an app.xaml. And if we open it up, we have a XAML CS. This here is basically your startup for your pages. So main page, this is the equivalent of an hey, I have an index.html page, which is fed as a reference for all my other pages in my single page apps are built from. This is kind of the same concept, the same philosophy. So over here, main page, that's the initial instantiator, if you will. You can also go through here, and there's your main page, broken down. And I'll tell you a little bit of a definition here. Let's look at the main page. Content pages in the Maui, content page simply says, hey, I have a web page, I'm going to have stuff on the web page. That's all it says, that's all it means. XLNS, it simply says, hey, this is a namespace. This is another namespace I want to reference. We're not going to use using statement at the top of your document. That's all that is. It's a namespacing. Namespace local. I'm going to have something local on my machine. This is a class. We're going to be talking about the main page class. And then background color. Hey, it's a background color. You'll notice that there are some parentheses here, and this is kind of a, I don't know, that beige, kind of hard to tell in here. But it says dynamic resource and page background color. You're going to see curly braces with a part A and a part B throughout the code tonight. When you see something like this, think of it as a binding operation of some kind. It could be, I'm going to bind data to a property name. It could mean I'm going to bind a control to the control property or whatever that is. That's kind of what an illustration here is doing a little bit. A dynamic resource, and that dynamic resource is going to be background color. Same thing over here, root component. Same type of configuration. I have something that is going to be bound or referenced to something else. Once again, it's a curly braces, a part A, and a part B. Okay, that's probably kind of a high level. Let's go ahead and go to the next step, which is the My Maui app. So we come over here and make sure we go out the solution this time. We go to add. I realized I did not show you what that looked like, did I? I did not. Let's show that really quick. So we're going to come over here. We're going to swap to Maui Blazor. Let's do Windows machine first. Concept cross-platform. We're now going to run this as a Windows application. All right. the second I start talking about something else, it will pop up. Come on, you can do it. Usually it's much faster than this. You know what? Let me stop it. I'm going to do a build. Let me do a build directly on that. Okay. So what I'm going to show, and I still will show here in a second, is we're going to show this Maui Blazor, this mobile app on the Windows device, and we'll go ahead and show it to the other platforms as well. So what do you think so far? Okay.
Well, while you're waiting, why is there a Maui Blazor app and a Maui app? And why are you creating this?
That's a great question. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a new package tonight in a class library, and I'm going to share it across all applications, across these applications. And what that's going to show you is when you're in development, either for yourself or within your organization, you can have someone develop components and you can share it across all of your apps. And what's really cool, tonight we're going to be showing the Blazor app or the WebAssembly, the phone app, but then you can also say, I'm going to show it for an Android, I'm going to show it for, you know, an iPhone. So that's an excellent question, that's why we're doing it. It's kind of like the proof in the pudding. Okay, now it says it's built. Okay. Otherwise, you're going to have to take it on faith. So, okay, so here we go. This is the, make sure I got it correct, my Maui Blazor app. All right, so this is your phone app as a Windows deployment. So you come over here, you actually have mobile controls in your window environment, but because this is a Blazor Maui, it is a web-based mobile native controls in a Windows environment. Wow, that was said 3 times, right? So kind of crazy. So really quick, we're now going to go ahead and show the emulator, and this is 13. This is normally going to take a little bit of time to do this, and this is one of the things I will not be doing this more than probably once per project as far as showing you the mobile. So when we get into the code base, you're going to say, hey Tim, why don't we do this one thing here, show us the code, do this one thing, show us the code. I'm not going to do that because it'll spend tonight another 20 minutes. So just kind of an FYI. Oh, another thing, if I ever say I'm going to show you do something and I actually going to click a button, and you don't actually see it going, remind me. Yeah, come on. One second here. Looks like my button has disappeared. Wow, okay. Now it's going. See it kind of down here a little bit. So the first thing this will do, it will go ahead and start building out. It will throw up your emulator, which you see here. This app is my Maui Blazor app. So we have a my Maui Blazor app here. Even though this is building and deploying, I'm going to go ahead and uninstall the previous version I have of this. Yep, I'm uninstalling it. Because I think I'm faster uninstalling it than I am building and then redeploying it. Okay, so we see the icon appear here. It will be good to go. We'll go ahead and we'll pull it up really fast.
Does it sync to your phone right now?
You just see the message pop up, didn't you? Yeah, I saw it. Like, it shouldn't be synced to my phone. But it is synced to my Gmail, which I logged in earlier today to test out those screenshots I was doing. Because it does that, because I did not delete that news icon, it still is synced to my Gmail via the app I deployed to the news icon, and that's why it's on message. Good point. Okay, here we go. Almost there. Almost there. So at the bottom of the screen, you'll see it says XAML hot reload initializing. This basically says we're ready. When it says connected, you're pretty much good to go. So here it says My Maui Blazor app. That's the project we were working with. We come over here. We see in our mobile device our web-based controls for our mobile app. Pretty cool. Nothing too revolutionary. And there we have it. The icon is here. We've actually deployed it to our mobile device. That easy, that quick. Just bam. You're looking for me. Misplacing my button at the top would have been a little bit quicker. All right. So now we've got that down, we're going to go ahead and create our third actual project. And let me get the name we're going to call it. This is going to be called My Maui app. So we come over here. We're going to add new project. My Maui app, or Maui app, if you will. Come over here, it's good to go. Accept the defaults. So you get the splash page, which you normally get whenever you do a new project. The very last part of that, with .NET MAUI, you can write your code once and run it on Android, iOS, and Mac OS, and Windows systems. Kind of a little bit more advertising than Microsoft is doing. In case you forget what MAUI is about, good thing right there. Kind of fun. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close these other pages we have. Close all tabs. And let's go ahead and do a build. So, Maui app is 100% mobile, 100% mobile native controls. That means there will not be web-based lingo or nomenclature as part of that application. Which the other ones, if you go into the source code and say, hey look, this is a web page. This is HTML, this is syntax, looks like a web page. It looks like a web page. This here will actually look like a mobile app, it'll look like a mobile device. When you go into it, you actually use XAML instead of your traditional web page technologies that you normally deal with. So, is it done? Alright, still building. So while we're waiting, I'm going to go over here and open up our emulator. And you'll see I have My Maui app. Oh, that's the old one. That's the old one. So now I'm going to go ahead and click on it. I'm going to run up here. I'm going to uninstall it. That'll save us a step earlier or a little bit later. And so now it's gone. And is the build complete? The build is complete. Looks like it was successful. I'm going to change this here to My Maui app. And it's a Windows machine. I'll deploy here first. I'm watching it this time. Okay. Oh, there are deployment errors. Why were there deployment errors? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and first, I don't believe it. So I'm going to go ahead and restore packages. It says we're good. I'm going to go ahead and manage NuGets. Look at updates. It says there are no packages for updates. That's probably why I said I don't believe it. I'm going to go ahead and redo a build. Could be a Visual Studio thing. Sometimes you get those weird messages that pop up in Visual Studio. Okay. Kind of leave it up there for a second. Any other general questions so far?
When you're building, is there any way that you can build for specific libraries? Like, I'm looking at a Kotlin library. Is there any way to backtrace that, or then I could use that for all three, or would I only be developing that for Android?
You develop for everything at the same time. So every code that you develop is for all, unless there's a specific implementation for a specific control. So you say, hey, I want to do, I'm not going to use the term Kotlin, I'll say use the term Android.
Okay.
Kotlin's a different technology. But you develop for Android, you're also doing exactly the same thing for iOS. But when you go to deploy, you determine what your deployment strategy is. So right now I'm going to the Android emulator. I could easily say, hey, I want to go to the iOS emulator, as an example. So then when you go to do that build, because I chose like the Pixel and I chose the Android 13, you simply go down and choose the iOS and you say I'm going to do to that environment instead. So if you are going to do active iOS or Mac development, two things. Either A, you have to download some special software for it, which tells you exactly what you need to do. But if you want to deploy it to your store, you have to have a Mac for that. So you don't have to have a Mac to do development for their store, but somebody has to have a Mac to deploy to their store. That's an Apple Wire product kind of thing. So, yeah. Okay, look, rebuild all succeeded. That's kind of crazy. Let's try this again. Okay, like magic it works. Okay. So over here, then remember this is the Windows deployment of our mobile app. Here's what it looks like. You'll notice something. The other apps had a weather service. This doesn't have that. So it does have a native mobile XAML control, which looks exactly like the web controls you saw earlier. But that's all this has native out of the box. One of the questions I have, and I continue to have, is when I open up the Maui app, and I'll open up the Maui Blazor app as well, you'll notice the structure looks very similar. It looks very similar. So you have properties, you have platform, you have resources. You have properties, you have platforms, you have resources. There's a couple more things specifically for a web that they have that this up here doesn't have. But why didn't they include a pages? Why didn't they include a data folder? Why didn't they give you the weather forecast service? I'm going to tell you honestly, I don't know. I would have included it. But anyway, in case you're curious, there's no systematic reason why it was not included other than someone decided they weren't going to put it in there. So don't think to yourself, oh, I wonder if you can't do this, or I wonder if it's not possible, because no way would Microsoft ever not include something as part of the initial configuration. I'll tell you they did. So that's kind of what that is a little bit. You also have to notice the Maui app, they did put some of the pages down here as part of the root directory, where the other stages like the Blazor app, you have, let me minimize this a little bit. You have the pages which has some of the controls in here, but you also have some of the root directory. But you go with the Blazor server app, you have almost nothing roots. You have some shared things which are globally shared, then you have your pages up here. This is what I'm going to refer to as developer or architectural styling. They very easily could have created a pages folder, threw the stuff in here, but they decided we're going to go ahead and have our initial app program.cs startup type stuff at the root level. That's all they did. Okay, so now that we've seen that, we're going to flip it over to the emulator. Actually, did I show you the emulator? Or did I show you the Windows?
Windows.
Okay, okay. I did want to show the emulator twice. Okay. So while we're waiting, let's go ahead and kind of open this up a little bit more. So the platform, we've already talked about this before when we talked about the Maui Blazor. Exactly the same purpose. We click on to see the project. It looks exactly the same as the other one. We still have our Android, our iOS, our Mac. We have our various platforms down here. Hey, this iOS, Mac, Android, Windows, Windows Tizen. We still have our resources reference. So nothing special in this area at all. XAML looks effectively exactly the same. Nothing has changed. Except maybe the resources dictionary. You see this in here. I don't believe that was in the other one, but you do see it here. But conceptually, you kind of understand what that's doing a little bit, just referencing some information for the page or for the application. The app.cs, instead of doing, I think that one said main page, this says app shell. Same exact thing. When you want to do something, you're going to create a new instance of that page, that object, and then you're going to go ahead and build your application structure off of that instantiation. App shell. Once again, here's a data template, local main page. This is the class. This is the namespace, namespace, namespace. We have a little bit of a flyout behavior, basically a little bit of styling reference. hey, we're talking app shell, we're going to initialize the components. You'll also notice a lot of the inherited classes, at least as far as the content pages, and here it says shell, they are grayed out. And usually grayed out means, hey, it's not being referenced anywhere. It's still part of the default offering we have there. I just normally leave them there. So anyway, how are we at? Did it actually pop? I think it's, oh, did it not do it? Okay, that's one of those things where I said sometimes I have to click it once, it doesn't actually go through, I have to click it twice. All right, so I see down here, I'm paying attention now, it is going. My Maui app, actually, did I deploy? It must have deployed, okay. So here is the Android version. Click, whoop. Now it's deploying. It was partially deployed. Hey, hello world. All right, there we go, that's exciting. So I'm going to stop that, nothing too exciting here. All right, we're almost done with the initial welcome conversation, then we'll get into building the application. It is 7:06, so I will be respectful of that. So next, we're going to do the Razor class library. And I'm going to speed things up a little bit here just because of the time frames. I do want us to start building the app and finish the app tonight. I don't want to keep everyone here till midnight, so I will respect that. Anyway, so let's start here. And we're going to go ahead and close all these things. We don't need them. Close all tabs. And we're going to come to solution. We're going to add projects. Add new projects. So now we're going to add the we're going to do the Razor class that I'm looking for, Razor class library. So really quick, I almost selected the Maui class library. There's a difference. So tonight's concept is about cross-platform technologies and how this kind of wires into that. If I were to do the Maui class library, what it means is I want a class library that will share mobile platforms to mobile platforms. So if I want to have an Apple, I want to have an Android, and it's only for Apple, only for Android, or only for the platform specific, I will put it into the Maui class library. If I want to have something that is based upon Razor technology, aka web development, that's why we would choose the Razor class library. And for your organization or personal development, you're going to see in about 5 minutes why this is so cool. Then you guys can jump up and down with a lot of excitement. Okay, so my Razor class library, very inventive name. Once again, we set the defaults. Set is restored. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick build. Hey, it succeeded. That was awesome. Okay. So a couple different things to structure. It's pretty empty. You're doing like normal C# class library. It's kind of the same pattern we have here. So really quick, if you're not familiar with imports, this is like the global using statements in Blazor development. That's kind of what that is. Example, JS interop. Is anyone here familiar with JS interop? Okay, so a lot of times people doing Blazor technology say, oh my gosh, do I have to write TypeScript? Do I have to do JavaScript? The answer is no, you don't have to with Maui and Blazor development, web development. From Microsoft's perspective, they're trying to move away from that. However, if you have something really cool that you like in JavaScript, and you really want to incorporate it, you can. The Microsoft Provide class, the interop, does that for you. Typical implementation, I would not put it down here in the base. I would create a helper folder. I would create a interop helper class, and I would put this in there from an organizational perspective. So I wouldn't leave this off the root. All this says is, hey, in my index page, or something similar to index page, or a host page, do I have a JavaScript file? Yes, I do. Great. Cool. In my code, my C# code, I want to call a JavaScript function in that JavaScript file from my C#. The interop will do that for you. You put up the interop, you pass in what C# function you want to hit, it will call that, it will go direct your code wherever that JavaScript is, it'll pull it back and give you that animation or whatever that JavaScript is doing for you, whatever that is. What I would say is, unless you're doing something that is very, very specific, you can probably write it in C# quicker and faster and have it more native to your code base. I would advise against doing that unless it is something really, really vital to what you're doing, and you think this is absolutely needed. I've written a lot of things with no JavaScript. I've written some things with JavaScript because maybe I wanted like a swallow alert or some type of special prompting or some special graphical animation. Anyway, for our purposes, the magic is in component 1. I'm going to go ahead and start going immediately into the implementation. Then I'm going to come back here and I'm going to show you what component 1 is. So I know I have not looked at the cheat sheet in a while. Matter of fact, it says here we need to commit code. All right, so let's commit the code first. We have 130 files. And I'm just going to say projects created. That's good for me. Okay. Hopefully that's good for everyone. Okay. The reason why we're committing the code right now is you look at this at home or tonight, whenever you look at it, it's just going to be a clear demarcation in the commits when we go from this is 100% system to we're starting to do something custom. Okay? That's what this is representing for us tonight. So we're going to minimize that. It now says my Blazor server app. We're going to add a dependency. Down here, that's step 9. We also have step 11, add a dependency. I'm going to do that at the same time. I'm also going to create this line here for 10. And I'm going to do 9 and 11 together and 10 and 12 together. So we come up to here. Here is the the Blazor server app, dependencies, add a project reference, my Razor class library. Boom. That's good to go. I'm going to come down and find the index page. I'm going to do this. Suddenly, I have a component, which you just saw we created when we did the Razor class library. It now lives via the reference. We just added dependency in my Blazor server app, and it does whatever that component does. We're going to come back down to here. Remember, Blazor server is 100% web. Now we're going to come over here and look at our Maui Blazor app. And we're going to, you guessed it, we're going to add a project reference. Boom. So that's there. We're going to come down and say, where is the index page? Oh, there it is. Now it looks similar to the old index page, but it is a different index page. I'm going to save it. And really quick, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to say I want to run the Blazor server app. I'm going to look for that hidden button. I still don't know why that button was hidden, but obviously I did something more. Okay, boom. We now have a component. It has some special silence, special things. All this is coming from our reference and component somewhere else. So in less than 1 or 2 seconds, we now have a component somewhere else brought into our main application, a pure web page-based application. Now we're going to come over here and we're going to say, hey, what about that Blazor Maui app, which is our mobile web application? And bam. I have a feeling I should have kept looking for the windows. Can I stop that? Can I stop that? Once again, this is pretty for a speed thing. Here we go, Windows machine. Hopefully I caught it in time. Okay. So this is basically going to be showing the exact same component in the mobile app for a Windows deployment. Obviously, we could have selected the pixel, that would have been a couple extra minutes. But it's going to be the same component from the same Razor interface. Oh, is it going? Here we go. Bam, there you go. So now you have native web, you have native mobile, which uses web type technology with Maui Blazor. Very cool. So from your organizational personal development, that is really cool, really cool. Let's come down here. I'm going to show you a couple different things. First, the component. Hey, the component is defined in the Blazor class library, which you saw. There is a class here. If I have 12, we're going to go ahead and select that. Here is the CSS, which controls that particular component. You will notice, I didn't show it before. Oh, sorry, I got to move that little zoom window. This here has a Razor.css. That is a narrowly defined CSS which pertains to that component only. So the question you ask yourself, which I ask myself, is, hey Tim, why doesn't this My Razor Class Library project have its own CSS folder? What happens if I do have a CSS folder, and there's CSS in there, and then my component has CSS? What about that? First question. I don't know why Microsoft didn't put a CSS folder there, or maybe I'm blind. Oh, I'm not blind. They didn't. Once again, interesting. However, if you do want to add a CSS folder in www roots, and you want to call it styles.css, or whatever you want to call it, you can do that. If you have CSS in that folder, you can do that too. And then when you run your project, if they don't conflict, you have both CSS rules and stylings come into play. However, if you have a localized CSS tied directly to a component, as you saw there, then the localized CSS wins in the traditional CSS hierarchy of who wins that battle. Sound good? So now you have your CSS organized, your components, you have multiple teams working on your components or their components. They put their own CSS on top of it. You have maybe some corporate or some global rules for CSS. Their CSS still wins in the battle, but you get everyone's CSS if that's how it works out in your particular application. So win-win, and not only that, but it works in this project, which is a web project, works on this project, which is a mobile project. Very cool. I'm not going to show you the other class library, which was the MAUI class library, because this is the Razor class library. But if you do the MAUI one, exactly the same rules apply, except Android, iOS, Python, Windows, whatever. Sound cool? Yes, very cool. Okay. One last thing, and then we're going to get into the real cool stuff. Keeps getting cooler, I know. So, last thing we're going to do for this little engagement is I'm going to copy this piece of code here, and we're going to move it to my Razor class library. So my Razor class library, here's my project, here's my property group. How? What does it say? Generated package on build is true. Package ID, it's a cross-platform package of some kind. Version 1, who's the author? I was the author. Who's the company? I think we'll call it Orion Tech, Orion Advisor Solutions. It's Orion. So that's what it is. I'm going to save it. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do a rebuild. Maybe just a build, but a build. It says it's ready. Do we believe it? No. All right. Hey, now we believe it. Now check this out. Check this out. We're going to come over here. We're going to say, if we find it, open folder in File Explorer. Okay, so here's a folder for our Razor class library. We're going down to our bin. We come to debug. Oh my gosh, what is this? I wish I could magnify it for you people on the back, but I'll tell you what it is. It's a NuGet package. We have just created a NuGet package which can automatically be deployed in the build pipeline to your company new package, NuGet repository. Woo! Yeah, is that awesome? What I just basically said, in slower terms, is whoever manages this process could automatically have their stuff on build, create the NuGet package for you. Your build pipeline can move it to your company repository wherever your NuGet packages go, and it's immediately available to every developer in your organization like that, with all the rules, all the stylings, all the cross-platform, the web, the mobile, everything, slam dunk, ship it. Cool. I know. Wow. Wow. Okay. I'm going to take a drink before I hyperventilate. Okay. Now the cool stuff. Woo! So, let's go ahead and close everything. And that's it. So we'll go back to our handy-dandy notes. And I'm going to describe at first what we're going to be doing through all the notes, and then we're going to let implementation through. So conceptually they'll say, oh, I know what he's doing. Oh, he's doing this now. Oh, he's doing that now. So the first thing we're doing is we're going to go ahead and create a folder for our models. This is going to be in our MAUI project, our pure mobile project. We're going to create a model class called Lizard. We're going to have the name, image name, and a sentence. We're going to go ahead and implement that. We're going to go ahead and create a folder called Pages, subfolder called Lizards. We're going to go through and create some pages. We're going to create a list page, a detail page. List page simply says, show me some information. Usually you click on that list page and it says, show me some details, whatever that information was. Well, then we're going to go ahead, some code, some code, some code, some code, some code, some code. Hey, this is what the match looks like. This is XAML. Looks pretty terrifying, but we get into it. I'll explain it all, and you'll be like, wow, that's not terrifying at all. I actually know exactly what that says, and I don't even develop. Coming through, some lizard stuff. Hey, we're going to create some instances of some lizards. There's John Smith. That's pretty cool. There's Sarah at the end. Main page, we're going to get a little bit into implementation of a button. That's how we're going to kick everything off from that button. And then we're going to go ahead and say, let's go ahead and navigate, push, and let's make it happen. So that's the entire project, and we're going to run it as a Windows machine, run it as a mobile device, and we're going to see if the magic happens the first try with no errors. Alright, that's Jinx. So, we're going to come back up to the top, and it's going to say, alright, let's go ahead and create a folder for our models. So, we are now in the Maui app, so we're going to pop over here, go to the roots, we're going to click the add button, we're going to add a folder. M-O-D-E-L. By the way, I'm spelling and typing challenge, so please do not hold it against me. I believe the next step we were going to add a class. And L-I-Z-A-R-D, was it lizards or lizards? You remember? Lizards with an S? No, no S. Alright. So we have lizard. We're about to find out. Alright, here's all the pressure. Hey, look, we win. Okay, it was lizard. So we pop over. I'm just going to go ahead and replace this really quick. We're going to do a little bit of house cleaning, make it all modern. We can do that. Doesn't really matter. Probably shouldn't do that, but oh well. I'll do it this one time. Okay, so we have our lizard class. Nothing too exciting, exactly as we saw. We're going to go ahead and save that. I believe the next step, going from memory here, was to create a pages folder. And this is one of the things we talked about earlier. Why didn't Microsoft give us a pages folder? Maybe they like everything being off the roots. I don't know why. So we have pages. Inside of our pages, we are going to create a lizard detail and a lizard list. And we're going to do something called a MAUI content page XML. MAUI content page XML. Alright, I'm going to copy lizard list. So we're going to come into here. We're going to be in our pages. We're going to say add. We're going to say add a new item. We're going to go down to the .NET MAUI C# items. Move this over.
Your notepad said create a subfolder.
Oh, it did. Oh, very nice. Bonus points right there. Okay. Yes. So we're going to create a subfolder. And it was called Z-A-R-D-S. Very nice. Okay, then we're going to come over here and do add new item. The MAUI section, I'm going to try to expand this a little bit. And we have a lot of different things. We're going to be doing tonight 100% MAUI content page XAML. We're going to say the name. I think I still have my buffer. There's a lizard list. That's pretty cool. And then we're going to come over and grab, I think it's lizard detail. We're going to add. We're going to say add new item. .NET MAUI. I'm going to expand over just on paranoid. I always think it's the second object, but I have doubts. Just personal insecurities. I don't know what that is. Anyway. So we come over here. We have our lizard detail. We have our lizard list. So let's look at what does this look like really quick. First thing you notice is we get a file name .xaml. We get a file name .xaml.cs, stands for C#. We come over here and we look at it. We say, So this is where the magic happens. Well, I have a namespace. I have a namespace. Okay, that's great. I have a class. Hey, this is my lizard detail. That's great. I have a title, just like a web page, title page, you think of it that way. It's called lizard detail. I have a vertical stack layout. So really quick, who has XAML experience here? Wow. About 4%, really cool. So if you don't have XAML experience, let's think about this really quick. What does vertical mean? What's horizontal mean? Pretty cool. Vertical is like this. So if you have something called a stack, it means a deck of cards, a stack of cards, you have a lot of different things. So now you have something vertical and you have a lot of different things you're stacking inside of that vertical thing, whatever it is. And then it says layout, don't worry about it, it's a box of some kind that has vertical stuff in it. So really what you have is a vertical container with stuff in it. Vertical stack, now I understand what's in this vertical box. It's a label, boom, done, ship it. Okay, so now we all understand what that is. Okay, so then we're going to come over here to our lizard detail in our notes, and we're going to say, hey lizard detail, let's make sure we've got the right stuff. We do. We're going to come back over here, and we're going to put it inside of our code. Grid. Does anyone not know what a grid is? Kind of a high level? It's a grid. It says X, Y coordinates, 7th grade math, grid. That's kind of what this is. Think of this more like Excel. We have A, B, C, Z, 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 1 to infinity. You have grids, you have cells. Kind of what this is right here. So here you have a grid, and then you have inside of your grid, you have rows. You have rows 0, 1, 2. We all start with 0 in this world. We don't start with 1. Who knew? So we have row 0, which is really row 1. We have an image. We have a row 1. In fact, I'll start using 0 again. We have 0, which is an image. We have 1, which is a name. We have 2, which is a sentence. Whenever you see the X with a colon, a name, that's simply, it's like saying in HTML, I have an HTML name property. Kind of like an ID property about the name property. That's all that is. So you have name properties, you have a couple of HTML sounding things, how big is it, what's the font size, etc., etc. That's what that is. Continuing on down the list, it says, hey, let's go to the lizard, XAML, XML, and that should be lizard detail. That's confusing. Okay, so let's go ahead and check this out. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. Try to copy this. We're going to go to the detail page. And I'm just going to go ahead and paste. We'll take a look at it. Okay, so, all right, I'll import the model. Okay, so really quick, initially it was just lizard detail, so I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of this extra brace. And then it gave us initialized component. I'm going to get rid of that because obviously we have that replicated below. So here we are. So we know immediately by looking at this, there's something called initialized component. Hey, you're going to zero it out, you're going to initialize it. Then you have image lizard.source, lizard name.text, lizard sentence.text. In the world of property names and values, that's what these are. This is a property with a value type clause. You're going to move something on the right hand side, it equals, or to the left hand side, so it'll actually recognize that as content for that property. So an image file is called the source, so we're going to move in lizard.image name over to the source, which is its contents, and then the .text is straight up HTML type of stuff, and you have your properties moving over here. But you notice it has a constructor or a parameter, if you will, lizard. So immediately we know this is the detail page. We know we're going to pass in a detail object, which is the lizard object, and we call it lizard. All right, let's go back to any questions on that so far? Okay. So we're going to come over here and we say, wow, is that it? Huh. I thought mobile development would be a little bit harder. That looks pretty straightforward. That's crazy. There's too many. All right, now we're going to lizard list. So go to lizard list, and I'm going to copy this. Then let's talk about it. So we come over to lizard list, the XAML page. Hey, look, it's a vertical stack layout. Who knew? Or get rid of it. And we just put in a collection view information. So really quick, in the world of development, view is say, hey, we're going to show data to something. A collection means we're going to show a list of traditional objects to something. So collection view means we have a list of objects and we're going to show it. Straight up, that's what it means. Items layout and item template, data template, stack layout. So in XAML, the way we're going to describe things is it says, hey, what do you have? I have a layout I want to do. I want to have a span of 2, or I want to have a group of 2 of something. Just remember group of 2 of something. and there is a data template and a stack layout. So if you have an item template, if you want to show information, you have to have that wrapped in a bracket of a data template. So hey, I have data that I want to show. That's just semantic split. Inside of here, we say, okay, I have data I want to show, and I want to go ahead and show that data with a little bit of styling. I want to show an image, and I want to show a label. The image, I want it to be centered, and I want to do binding image name, binding name. Earlier, I was talking about the parentheses and a part A and a part B. That's exactly what this is. Part A and Part B. You have a property or control or something, and you have some type of data or something you want to bind to that, wherever that thing is. That's exactly what we have here. And it wraps it up. It's really nice. So really quick, we have a collection of objects, and inside there we have some data, and that data we have defined as an image name and a name, and we're going to wrap it in groups of 2, whatever that means. So then we go back to our notes. And once again, I'm not going into details because we'll be here all night long if I go into super good details. But kind of a high level, I'm not going to the lizard list CS class. I'm going to copy this first part down here. And we're going to come over here and say, hey, show us the magic. Here's lizard class. We're going to come up here. And we're going to wait for the appropriate using reference. So over here, it's a simple, we have a list of lizards, and our lizards have names, they have some pictures, and they have some cool descriptions about that particular lizard, lifestyle of the rich and lizard, I guess. So kind of cool. And then we're going to come over here and say, okay, I now understand we're talking about actual lizards, we think. Go back to our notes. Initialize component, we've seen that like at least once already. Let's go ahead and look at lizard source lizards. So we come back over here, we add it in. So after we initialize our component, we simply say, I have an item source. The item source we know is going into our collection view, and our collection view is having a list of data. Our data we now know is being tied to lizards, and that is referenced by an item source. So we're going to take what's up on the right side of the equal sign, move to the left side. From that left side, bam, into XAML to your mobile device. That clean. Okay, that's exactly what that's doing. So now we're going to come back over, and we have lizard selection change. Wow, that is a lot. So we're going to come over here. Hang on a second. All right. We're going to come over here. We're going to add that last guy in. So here we go. Lizard selection change. First thing you'll notice is getting the grayed out. In C#, something's grayed out means there's no references to it, except in XAML. This says it's not being used. It's lying to you. I think it's lying to you. It really is being used. But whatever reason, these C# .NET references don't connect, so it says it's not being used. However, I'll believe it for now. I'm going to go back to lizard list, and I'm going to say, oh look, lizard selection changed. I didn't believe it. It really is being used. That's where it's being used. Selection mode single basically means, hey, this is only on that one thing that we click or that one thing we have an activity against. So now we have selection lizard change. It's all good to go. We come back, look at our code, and say, hey, we're done. So all of our code is now been implemented, except how do we actually execute the code in our mobile device? That is a good question. So we go to main page. It says here, we're just going to add a button. It's going to hit the lizard button. So we come over here, we look for our main page, wherever that lives. And sorry, I'm done with my Zoom, it will pop up my page. Main page. So here's the main page. And looking for XAML. So over here, check this out. First we have that vertical stack layout that we talked about earlier. There's a vertical thing, there's a box, a bunch of stuff in it. Inside of here we have an image, we have a label, we have a button. Wait, no. We have 2 buttons. We have a lizard button behind our counter button. So that's kind of cool. But wait a minute, we have a scroll view. We haven't talked about scroll view. Everyone's been on a web page. You scroll up, you scroll down. Guess what this does? Allows you to scroll up, allows you to scroll down. Pretty cool. Okay, so, hey, I don't know XML, but wow, I can kind of understand what that's doing. That's kind of cool. So let me look back and see if we've forgotten any cool things. And of course it says we have, because we don't have an on-lizard click event. So we come over here, We copy that over. We go back and try to find our C# code, main page.xaml.cs. We come over here to this section. We reference our pages. Okay, let me describe this. Obviously, the on-counter click is being referenced. The on-lizard click is being referenced. Navigation.push async. Effectively what we're saying is we're going to navigate somewhere else. And we're going to go ahead and say this is going to pop on top of, or we're going to push it to the active window, the active page. I'm going to show you something when I do the demo later on. Remember this part. And we're going to do it to the new lizard list. What is a new lizard list, you ask? Oh, it's this person, which we're initializing a component. We're putting some lizards into it after the initialization, and then we show our stuff. Are we done? Is that really what mobile development's all about? Oh no, we didn't import the lizards. Obviously, there's more to mobile development. You have to import the lizards. So we'll come over here. We'll go to our happy little file, and we'll say lizards. Lizards, lizards, lizards. We go to resources. We go to images. And there's no lizards. So we come over here. We go add. We go to add existing item. And then we say, where would the lizards live? I'm going to say they live under saved pictures. There's a lizard file. No, they're gone. No, they're there. Okay. And then we say, you know what? Lizzie is in the house. There we have a bunch of lizards, so we're good to go. We're going to save this. Now we say, are we done? Oh, it says we have to run the application. So let me get this straight. If I wasn't talking, and you weren't going through all the other steps, how long would it take you to create a list page, a detail page, a class, a couple navigate push asyncs, add a button? Couldn't you do that in 5 or 10 minutes? Couldn't you do that in 5 or 10 minutes? How long does it take you to make a web page normally? It's an hour later, I'm trying to think about my CSS. I haven't got anything developed yet, sometimes. So keep this in mind when people say, no, 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 no. I want to do this type of development, this type of development. You're like, but I'm a .NET developer. I do C#. Isn't this kind of cool? All right, so let's find out. Is it kind of cool? Or are we just playing games tonight? So we're going to come over here. I'm going to go ahead and go on Maui. I'm going to come over. No, I'll hit save first. I'll hit save first. Come over here to the Maui app. We'll do a rebuild. So what are your thoughts so far before we see the magic or non-magic? Is everyone wondering why they didn't publish an app last year? Why they didn't do it this year? Why aren't they doing it this weekend? Do you have between like 8 and 8:30 this morning to just...
The binary that is built, is this built the same using the Roslyn file? Is it built exactly the same, or is there like some type of plugin that's the compiler to allow it to transcribe?
From a developer's perspective, it's all built into .NET. You don't have anything special to it. Earlier when I was showing the pictures, I was showing the app code, I was showing you the Maui UI, and then there was something called, I forget it was called BCL, I think it was called. That's actually what's doing that for you. That's what's translating the individual resources and the platform folders into the binaries specific to each of those platform channels. But all that is seamless to you as a developer. The only thing you have to know is the C#, what platform you want to deploy to. So instead of doing like the Android Pixel app, when you go into deployment, you'll follow the documentation. I'll show you exactly how to do it to the particular environment you're going to. Okay, so I think the build is probably done. It is probably done. Let's do a Windows machine first. And I almost did the Blazor app. We went to the Maui app. My button disappeared again. I'm watching it. Oh, no, no, not Pixel first. Windows machine first. We're clicking on it. Staring at it. Make sure it's going. Okay, I think it's going. Oh, wow, that was super fast, Tim. How'd that happen? Wow, that was fast. Shocking. All right, so earlier, I didn't show it to you, but there was maybe you saw it on the screen for the styling. There was something that said background gray something. I don't know if any of you saw it on the screen. That is only there to show you the boundaries or the boxing of that to something I referenced earlier. When I say, hey, this is to something, the to span, whatever that was, remember that? This here is only showing you visually so you can see the separation. I would probably not use a background color and say, hey, it's all going to be just images and text, that's all I want. So we come over here to John Smith. So John Smith, he has a passion for cooking and experimenting with new recipes. Looks pretty cool, pretty excited. Come over to Emily Johnson. Emily Johnson is passionate about painting and creating beautiful works of art. Who knew? Who knew? Between lizard and profiles tonight. Michael Williams enjoys finding or playing guitar and writing his own songs. I'll stop eventually. Jessica Brown loves to read books, especially mystery novels, solving puzzles. David Jones is an avid hiker, enjoys exploring nature, tells his free time. Wait! Jennifer Davis, what did you do? Where is Jennifer Davis? We may never know, so let's stop. It's a fire. So, we're coming over to Jennifer Davis. What happened?
Jim.
Oh, look at you, look at you. Oh my gosh. Wow, okay. If we look, I'm going to go the slow route, and then we'll kind of go to the fast route. So the slow route is, let's debug this and find out what's going on, right? So we come over here, look at details, and I don't see anything cool there. We come back over, look over here. Jennifer Davis, wait, you're a PNG. All right. What was he possibly talking about? So, we know she's a PNG. Let's look at our resources. Oh, wait a minute. That's a GIF. You're a PNG. Oh, I wonder if that's the issue. By the way, if you're not familiar, this is really just an advanced form of JPEG, in case you're curious. All right, so now we corrected our imaging fiasco, and we're going to click this off again for good old Jennifer Davis. That was sharp. That was good.
ADHD.
All right. You're like, wait a minute. Why is she different from me? Okay. So, oh, look, Jennifer Davis, she's in. She was probably out playing basketball, spending time outdoors with her friends. That's what she was doing. And now she's been fixed. So, this is the MAUI mobile device deploying to Windows. Oh, I can deploy MAUI mobile devices using mobile device native tools and structures to a Windows application. Yes, you can. Cross-platform, multi-platform. Bam, we just showed it, we just did it. But now we're going to close this, because as much as we like Jennifer, we still have to talk about William and Elizabeth and these people. So we're going to go ahead and shut that down. We're going to come back over to our Windows machine and say, show us the magic.
We all lose our minds and go crazy.
I should have included fireworks. I really should have. Now you mention it. I should have done that. Oversight. Cobra Kai.
Like a hot reload.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll notice it. It should be in my bar. There is a hot reload. Remember my button shifted earlier in the presentation? I don't know why that happened, or as I clicked on something. The hot reload is here. I don't see it right now. Probably if I reloaded, you would see the hot reload. The answer is yes. Everyone will have it. Minus the last 45 minutes, I also normally have it. That's a great question though. Alright, this is a different application. So we're going to go find our applications, our MAUI app. And is it done? Is it done? I don't think it's done. We're going to wait. Set this ready. Did I not click that the second time? Did we just click that again? Okay. I'm staring at it right now, very carefully. Okay, now I'm watching. Okay. That's why I said earlier, sometimes I get distracted, I don't watch that specifically. So now it is loaded, it is going through. Yeah, hot reload usually works really well, except if you change program logic, like your .cs, then you're going to have to go actually stop it and reload it. If you have any data-bound controls in your XAML, you'll also have to stop and reload it.
You split some of your logic into like other DLLs or libraries with only recompile libraries or recompile the solution.
If you have, for example, a MAUI class library, I think you can keep it isolated to that. Okay, so we have a list of lizards. Now we have our actual mobile application. Here is, now we left off with Jennifer, so we're going to start with William. Now, I did something here when I popped William up. I clicked twice. I went click, click. I didn't do click, I didn't click, click. The reason why that's important, remember earlier when we were showing the lizard detail, it was the navigate lizard detail, I think it was like push a scene. And I go, oh, let's pay attention to this. Remember that part? This is where this comes in. Because it's a navigation dot push a scene, I automatically get an arrow. I didn't have to code that little arrow because it's part of a navigation push a scene. So it comes with a navigation bar automatically, which is kind of cool. However, I clicked it twice. So William says, hey, you said you wanted me twice because you clicked me twice. So you get William twice. Anyway, he's a dedicated gamer who enjoys playing a wide variety of video games, apparently. And then we have Elizabeth. At this point, it's tongue-in-cheek. All these images were generated last night using AI. I thought that was kind of cool. I was looking for iguana-themed images for tonight. Like I said, I did that with coffee, and I got tired of so many coffee presentations. I'm like, I'm done. So we did lizards. So that was kind of cool. And, oh, it's double-clicking as is a force of habit. I will click one time for James. Here's James. Loves to travel, explore different cultures and cuisines. And of course, it was only one. And then if we end with Sarah, single click. She's an enthusiastic runner who participated in marathons and races. That was a mobile application. Outside of my long-winded talking as part of this conversation, you could have written this very quickly. You could have designed this very quickly. Code maintenance, there's almost none. Deployment across your entire organization with the Razor-based and the MAUI-based shared class libraries, really cool. Adding the NuGet package as part of the project file, automatic build pipelines, super cool. Shared resources, cross-platform, Windows, TV, mobile, web, sharing between Windows, web, and mobile components. Shared CSS libraries with narrowly defined isolation scopes for who wins the CSS battles. How cool is that? How cool is that? I think that's really cool. Of course, there's that 2,000-page PDF I told you about earlier. There's also that 100-page PDF as far as architectural design and strategy. Take a look at that. For specifics. But right now, if you just want to display, family portraits of kids, you can do that tonight before you go to bed. The only thing that you'll need to do when you load this up and you start doing it, you might get prompted saying, hey, here's an automatic download you need that Microsoft Visual Studio will prompt for you. And that's mainly just getting your emulator set up with your device. And once again, that is automatically prompted for you when you go through. Go through the 5-minute getting started on the Microsoft site, which I'll give you the links when I push this to GitHub. You'll have all the code tonight. You'll have all my notes. You'll have all the reference documents. And those PDFs are just waiting for you to download. That's all I got, people. Mobile developers, Maui, Razor, Blazor.
How do I add accents in here?
I know, right? Yeah.
Just a little ahead at the bottom. Yeah.